For the GTD followers who are tuning in and feeling some overwhelm in their safety, their digital safety life, what's one small change you could recommend they make today, particularly around maybe their mindset or perspective, so that they could.
I'd have to go to you, Jocelyn, and say, what would you recommend to them? I, 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 that's what I did because my friends who knew more about this than I did said one password's the best. Go ahead and transition into that and use that stuff. So, but you know, how geeky people are depends on how much research they want to do. Okay, which one's the best one now? Whatever. And they could go to Chat GPT and say, okay, what's the best password manager now that on the market? And they're going to get probably a lot of information that you have already. But
Perfect. Well,
or
yes.
they could connect with you guys and with what you do and say, what do you recommend and how would we start?
Hello and welcome everyone to the Smarter Online Safety Podcast, where we help you stay safe and sane online. I'm your host, Jocelyn King, and today I'm literally beyond honored to welcome the world's #1 productivity guru and New York Times author of Getting Things Done, the legendary David Allen. If you've ever felt password fatigue, brain fog, or that nagging feeling that something might get hacked, this episode is for you. We're going to look at a digital tool through David Allen's Getting Things Done or GTD lens and explore how password management is actually mind management. David, for those of you who don't know and aren't already following this guru, is an international best-selling author who created the Getting Things Done method, and he is recognized as the world's leading expert in personal and organizational productivity. His New York Times best-selling flagship book, Getting Things Done: The Art of Stress-Free Productivity, has sold over 4 million copies. It's been translated into dozens of languages, and Time magazine called it the defining self-help business book of its time. He's considered a leading expert in all things related to productivity, and he's one of the world's most influential thinkers, according to Time magazine, in the arena of personal productivity. On a personal note, I was introduced to David Allen Getting Things Done in 2007 when I was working full time at a multi-billion dollar global Silicon Valley company, overseeing a global team while getting my MBA and trying to maintain any semblance of health and a life. And I honestly know I would not have had the successes I've had and completed it the way I did and gotten the promotion afterwards if I had not gotten the foundations that David teaches of getting things done in my life that helped me keep my focus, keep track of literally the thousands of little details that could have derailed me. And the opening sentence in his book is one that I have on my screen, and it immediately draws you in because he starts out, it's possible for a person to have an overwhelming number of things to do and still function productively with a clear head and a positive sense of relaxed control. Wow, what a great statement. And when I am trying to teach people about online safety, it's so easy for them to go into a fear and panic and frozen mode because they're just the word hacker and cybercrime and picturing this unseen, unrecognizable hoodie and a hacker sends people into such fear that they stop, they procrastinate, they delay it. I can give you all the tips in the world on this podcast and in our workshops, but if you're frozen in fear and you don't have that positive sense of relaxed control that David can give you, you're not going to get started. And so I can attest that his book can help you do just that, which is why I've easily bought over 100 copies, David, then given them out to friends, family, and coworkers and staff over the years. So thank you, David, for the impact you've had on my life and the millions and millions of others you've helped. And thank you for joining us today.
Sure. My pleasure, Johnson. Thanks for the invitation.
That's great.
Sure. I'm not
So
sure I can share. I'm not sure how I can share though, because I'm a bit of a nerd, or no, I'm not a nerd. I'm an anti-nerd in a way, or not an anti-nerd. I'm just uh, I don't go into this stuff unless I absolutely think I need to, or somebody convinces I need to.
Hmm.
But I'm uh, I love the digital world. I love what that showed up. It's a new world out there for sure.
I love that.
So
Well,
yeah,
what's so great is that you're not a cybersecurity expert, you're not a tech CTO, you are a productivity expert who uses helpful tools in your own life. And that's why we're so excited to talk to you about password management today. And first of all, before we get started on that, though, for those who are just hearing about getting things done in GTD for the first time and don't know about, I like to call it the healthy cult of GTD. Could you give our listeners a synopsis of what it is?
sure. It's about how do you get your head clear so you can stay appropriately focused on whatever you're focused on.
That's perfect.
But
And
in order to get your head clear in these days, there's a lot of stuff you got to manage in order to be able to keep your head clear about that. So I just uncovered, really discovered, and then objectified the methodology about how to keep your head clear,
I love,
given all that stuff that comes at you that you allow into your ecosystem, and then how to stay focused on what you want to stay focused on. That's kind
I
of
love
it.
that. And unlike other time management people who kind of focus on project management and just the tasks and things like that, you came at it actually from, you were a black belt in martial arts and you came at it more from a gestalt, as you like to say, of that martial arts thinking and a mind like water. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, if you're jumped by four people in a dark alley, you don't want to have your brain clogged up with anything.
Mm,
You need to be very clear. So the mindfulness trend these days has people focus on their breathing, brings you present or whatever. Yeah, I learned that 50 years ago in the martial arts. You need to stop, relax, meditate, and then be present for whatever then shows up as a surprise. So I
mhm.
learned that as a concept and or as an experience actually, and then began to explore for myself. How do you manage that when you have a much more complex world that you have to deal with and engage with? So
That's
that's
right.
where I discovered piece by piece the pieces of methodology that became getting things done, the GTD methodology that I then put into a book. I didn't know what I'd Jocelyn, I didn't know what I'd figured out. I figured that obviously a lot of people must have figured this out already.
Mm.
And but nobody else had done it the way I did it. And it was bulletproof. I proved
Well,
it with a lot of stuff I would have done.
Einstein, took all those mathematical equations and reduced them in the beautiful simplicity to E equals MC squared. And I would argue that you did the same thing with productivity and made it succinct. So,
Well,
so thank you.
thank you. That's a bit of more of a recommendation than I would give myself. So thank you. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned things about when you wrote it and all. I mean, when you first wrote it, we were busy. Everybody was busy, but we weren't juggling hundreds of logins and thousands of emails and multi-factor login codes and ton of phishing links coming at you. So you're also trying to clear out your inbox and you've got, legitimate, somewhat legitimate looking email. Maybe you're a little suspicious about it. Sometimes they're blatantly bad, but you've got phishing links in there. And so having that sense of clarity on what you should do and is really important. How do you see this current time that we're in affecting people's mental clarity?
It's just uh, speed and volume
Hmm.
of things you potentially need to think about and make decisions about. That's all.
Okay. Well, one of
It's
my
just
favorite quotes is your quote about the better you get. You want to tell people that one?
the better you get, the better you better get.
Right.
As you graduate, as soon as you have kids or get promoted, you're going to move into a very different world of how many things you need to manage
Yeah, it starts
and
moving
keep and
faster and
and
more
and,
volume.
and keep track of. Not just faster, more volume, more things you needed to consider.
Mhm.
And wow, and where I put that in to this game of my whole game, so your game gets much bigger.
So the clarity of mind of GTD is so critical to where what you do to understand how to stay safe online. Most people, as dire as all the statistics are about cybercrime and and hackers and everything that could happen to you, I can't picture a more important area of people's lives for them to have clarity. Because in most of the world, and not all, but in most of the world, the country they live in is in peacetime. But online, there literally is a cyber war raging 24/7 that they can unwittingly get caught up in by an accidental click. Over 80% of all hacks are from user error, you or me or somebody listening, clicking on a link, or that's bad, or calling the phone number that is texted to them saying it's their bank or whatever, and and allowing the bad guys to take advantage of them. And so being in a state of panic and rushing is exactly what hackers want. So you are the antidote to that with the clarity and the mind like water. And I think,
Yeah, but come on, Jocelyn. I'm not the antidote to how do you fix that. You might be, or other people certainly might be. But the fact that that happens,
Mhm.
you know,
But I think if you can get into that state,
pardon my French, but shit happens. And this stuff, this stuff shows up, and you get surprised with new stuff. So then, how do you integrate whatever the new stuff is? What might you need to do about it? How do I engage with it? Whatever is a universal issue.
right?
It always has been and will always be. So
Well,
I just came up with the algorithm about, okay, how do you then engage with that so you can appropriately engage with it?
appropriately engage with it is great. So what I mean is that by being able to stop, because one thing that what you teach and what I teach have in common, I have you have your method, and I use at Smarter Online Safety, we have the SAFER method, which is it's an acronym, right? So you're gonna SAFER stands for stop. You see something, and before you click, before you call, before you talk to them on the phone, anything that's going on, you stop. And then the A is assess. You want to assess because the number one tool in your toolkit for staying safe online is your spidey sense. And when you are the more grounded you are and the more clear you are, the more you're going to hear that voice and the more likely you are to respond to it. So you just want to assess, wait, something seems off here, or wait, I heard that podcast and I remember I shouldn't be clicking on the link in the text I'm getting. So you just want to assess and you want to think about, what do I need to do? I need to get out of that app. If this is really Bank of America or whomever, I need to go to their known good website and get the phone number there or get on a chat there and interact with them in their setting, not over this, because this could, unless I'm 200% certain that this is really them, I need to initiate the conversation. So you assess and then you focus, and that's very much aligned with the GTD methodology. You focus on, what do I need to do? So you learn, the actions. And only then, step four is you execute. That's when you take action. Because most people start clicking, start talking, and before you know it, they've given away their life savings or all their passwords, and all hell is breaking loose. And so, having delaying your action is so important. And then the R in safer just stands for reinforce. At the end, you want to go, what security setting do I need to change? What do I need to improve something? Do I need to block this? What do I need to do so that this doesn't happen again? Or how can I help prevent it? And then you might change your systems. So it's a, it's a cousin to the kind of methodology you have, which is about having clarity before you take action. And it's so, so important.
Yeah, and a lot of that clarity from a lot of the coaching I've gotten is look at the address of who sent that to you.
Yes,
And if that's not a Microsoft address, or if that's not an Apple address, or if that's not a trusted, URL or or email address,
right.
dump it or delete it or block it
You're so
or
right. Most
whatever.
people look at the name. It could look like the name is coming, like you could be getting an email ostensibly from Jocelyn King. But if you look at the actual email address, it's I'm a hacker at gmail.com, right? It's not me. So most people look at the name and they're not looking that next level deeper. That's one of the best, yeah, that's one of the best things you can do. That's how you avoid it at all costs. So that's great.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding.
Mhm. So let's talk a little bit about this whole issue with the volume when it comes to passwords. The average user has 200 to 300 passwords, and I work with some people who have 700 because they're in so many systems, and they have to be for work and personal life and their volunteer life and their families and all this stuff. So 700 passwords, right? But just bring it back to the average. Let's say 200. And people listening may think, oh, I don't have 200 passwords. But you'd be amazed as you start collecting them to find, oh, wait, I did sign up for that coupon thing and start an account. And I did do this. And why that matters is, especially if you're reusing a password or you have a formula for the way you create passwords that could be guessed, not even by the brain of a hacker, but by their software, which is far more reaching and powerful than any human would be. So if you have that and that gets hacked and is sold on the dark web, and it's the same password you're using in your bank account or anything else that's critical, you now have a real problem. So if you have 200 passwords and you're trying to remember them, a lot of them are weak, most of them are forgotten. A lot of people are using that same weak password across multiple accounts. They're writing down passwords on paper and notebooks, which if they're judicious about keeping it safe is one thing, but I've seen a lot of people have a notebook and they leave it on a desk in a area with other people. I mean, all it takes is somebody to come through, take a picture with their phone, they've got all your passwords. You can be viewed from cameras that can zoom in and get things, and these are all actual things that have happened to people. And so you can have a lot of, and of course, from a GTD perspective, if you're trying to log in because you're in your zone and you've got your productivity, on for the day and you've got a task to do. And then you go and you're caught because I can't remember my password and you have to reset your password. And you're thinking, why is it easier for a hacker to break into my account than for me to log into my account? That's going to interrupt your entire zone. So the GTDers listening know exactly, what I'm talking about. And all of us can relate to getting thrown off by that. So, one of the things I love is that you use a password manager. And so we're going to get into talking about that so people can understand why. So, first of all, before you got your password manager, were you finding yourself kind of slowed down and running into some of that? Did you ever
N-
experience that login
yeah,
reset drama?
Not so much Jocelyn, because I used software. I think it was called, what was it called? Uh, Engage or whatever. And so I kept a big log of what all my passwords were,
Okay.
my username and my password. So all I had to do was click to that, do a quick, you know, instant search by first name, and
Hmm.
I would see what it was. So that wasn't a big issue I was using. But then when Apple changed its operating systems, it screwed all that up.
Yeah. Well, and also things got a little tougher as hackers got better and better of how they could get to um, documents. And like a lot of people are using browsers to save their passwords. And that's better than post-it notes on your screens and things like that. But the best thing to use are password managers. And, and all cybersecurity pros use password managers of some kind. Now, if they're really cyber people, they have the offline version and they store all their backups and they don't have regular laptops like you and I as well. But all of them are using password managers of some kind. And there's five primary ones, that are really mainstream. There's over 10, on the market that people are looking at today. And there are free ones. And then you don't have all the productivity with the free, like Bitwarden offers a free, but if you have trouble getting into your account, you're kind of locked out. So with the free, if you're not careful. So there's just things you have to do. But the top two among cyber pros are 1Password and Bitwarden. And I have a whole, demo walkthrough that we'll link to about 1Password and Bitwarden and all of the others, so that people can compare them. Now, you personally use 1Password, is that correct? Whoops, I've got you on mute. We've got you on mute.
I had a sneeze fit, so
Okay. So
anyway,
you've heard,
so
so
yeah,
I'll just let me
I
just re-ask the
migrated
question, and
I
we'll
migrated to 1Password, so I'm not an expert.
okay.
And so I still had to then fumble with how do I take my old passwords and usernames and stick them into the new version. And so there's still a couple of apps I use, not many, but there are a couple of apps I use that 1Password still doesn't work. So I've still got to figure out how to transition that.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I'm not a pro with 1Password, but yeah, I was coached that was the way I should go,
Okay, perfect.
given the fact that my old system
Right.
just got screwed up by the new operating system on the Mac.
Right. Well,
So
they do, 1Password is wins a lot of the most popular, easiest to use. What's great about it is it's good for people who aren't, technophiles and are not cyber security people, because that's the thing. In order for me to learn how to protect myself, I spent years learning cybersecurity, and I didn't want to learn cybersecurity. And so what I'm trying to do is teach people most people just want online safety. They don't want to become, a licensed cybersecurity person. And so just making the tips that you need to do and understanding the basics is what we're all about here. But I think learning
great.
about, why to use a password manager is so helpful. Well, let me just say a couple things about 1Password for people who aren't using it. The number one question I get when I'm talking to groups, I don't care if it's a big corporation of employees or at a conference or at a small club, the number one question I get is, but isn't it dangerous to have all of your passwords in one place? That seems dangerous. And I would tell you that if it's a note document on your laptop, you're absolutely right. The difference with password managers is that they are so highly encrypted that even if they were hacked, with the one exception of LastPass, which has a totally different architecture and has been in the news a lot, so that also turned people off of thinking of using passwords. So don't use LastPass. Cybersecurity people are not using um, LastPass anymore. But if you use 1Password, Bitwarden, Proton, any of these, they they're so highly encrypted. It's not like somebody's downloading an Excel file with your email login, your password, and the website of the account. It's so encrypted that they can't break it, and they can't think. It's kind of like the nuclear submarine code, the nuclear submarines where you have to have three keys by three different people, and so it really has a fail-safe built in, and it is regularly scrutinized by experts in this area, and those are then published for the entire cybersecurity, world to see. So if there's a big break, you would have it. The one way that hackers could get access to everything is you. And not you, David, but you, the listener, and you, me. If you allow malware to get downloaded onto your website and you get what's called a pop back, which looks like, it's those little boxes that say, hey, you have to update your software or you need to do this. And it's asking for your 1Password login credentials. Do not do that. You need to go the same as we were just talking about with the same as we were just talking about with what you have to do if you get texts or emails. You get out of it, you go to the website or your app on your phone or desktop, and you update it in there. Never do a pop back because it could be malware. And if you do that, and there's actually a famous video of a journalist who asked a hacker to come for him. And he did that. He was able to hack through one of his accounts. He made it look like he was updating software that he used to publish his documents. And he actually got his 1Password login, and then he was able to get in and infiltrate his accounts. But the software itself, the manager is safe. So the combination of a great manager, which is your password vault, plus your behavior of not engaging with these with any kind of a screen that shows up on your laptop telling you to give it the password. If you do those two things, then you are 99.9999999% safe. So that's why it's used by cybersecurity people. So I wanted to address that because most people say, "Oh, I'm not going to use a password manager. That sounds dangerous to put them all in one place. So when you think about them, do you have any, just knowing that, does that make you a little more relieved, David?
No, I've been watching when I get things, and I have a couple of guys in my team, and I send that to them. I say, "Look, guys, I got this thing because X, the old X Twitter,
Hmm.
I tried to get back on because I've got almost 1 million followers there, and I need to stay sort of engaged if I can." And I kept getting back on again, and they kept sending me these things. Well, no, you need a second level or whatever. I kept trying to do the second level, and they kept sending me things called, "Look, people are trying to access your account." And my guy said, "Look, these guys are fishers. They're just that's not real,
Right.
you know. So don't bother about that." So I sent that. I sent my combination of emails back to X, and they said, "Well, we've just stopped your double security."
Two-factor
So
authentication or multi-factor
yeah,
authentication.
so now I can get on fine, but I don't have their double security because their double security somehow triggered, people trying to get on that were fishes and were not real.
Right.
So it
Well,
took a
somebody
while
could,
for me to figure that out
yeah,
and fix it. Yeah.
yeah. I work with a lot of celebrities and CEOs and people who have 1 million+ followers. And obviously they're more targeted because they're who people would like to get into. Because if somebody can break into someone's account that has that, what do they want to do? They want to post a link and say, hey, check out my new whatever. And they're going to have a link that's actually going to take the person's followers into a dark alley with four bad guys in it, like you were talking about earlier. And so you don't want to do that. And that's why it's good. But I love that you have, the security advisors and stuff in place. And of course, I'm always here for you, David, if you need it. So, let's talk about things too. One thing I love about a password manager like 1Password, you can also store your documents. Like I travel a lot, so you know, having having an image of my passport should I lose it. And I actually a lot of people that I work with right now who are concerned about being stopped and questioned for things, having that with them. They have printed copies, but they also like that they knowing that it's on their phone. And a lot of people make the mistake of saving it in their photos, taking a picture of it and saving it in their photos. And that does not have at all the same level of protection as having it in here. So being able to put secure notes, numbers, like not only your social security number or family members' social security numbers, but also if you're a business, your EIN number, passport numbers of family
So,
members.
Jocelyn, how do you do that? I've never done that. Do I need to go? Do I need to go into the 1Password app and
Yes.
then,
So if you go into 1Password and in fact we'll show over this as we're talking. And for those of you who are listening on audio, you can come to our website or YouTube channel and we'll show you a video walkthrough of this. But what you do is you're going to go in and when you say create new in your vault, instead of creating a login, which is going to pull up a screen asking you for the email, it's going to generate a password for you, which I was about to get into. And then it has the website or URL that you're going to go to so it can open it for you and secure it. That's a login. It also has notes, documents, and other things. So you can store your entire digital secure life in the vault that is your 1Password. And especially, you live in Europe, but you travel a lot. Whether, I travel all over the world, to have all that in one place. And there's also a travel mode, which reduces certain things. So if you go to certain countries where you know that there's scrutiny and that they are like digitally getting certain things from you, you can actually put it in travel mode, which gives you higher levels of protection so that nation state cyber criminals can't get to your things as a citizen of whatever country you are a member of. So there's things like that that make 1Password incredibly powerful. And we're talking about less than the price of a cup of coffee per month that you're getting this kind of powerful protection.
Yeah, good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. That's great. So let's talk a little bit. What one thing we were talking about was the logins. The thing I love about it now, when you use it, David, one of the things you can do, some people go to like a website in their browser and then they go over and then they open the password manager app on their desktop and then they're cutting and pasting. You can copy and it'll copy. It won't, if you're showing your screen, it's masking your actual password. So you can go, oh yes, I'm using this email for that and here's my password. I'll copy it and populate it and it only keeps it in your computer memory for 2 minutes. So after 2 minutes, it expires. And that way, no hackers can get into your memory. Nobody coming up behind you could go into your memory and get your password for your retirement account or or your trading account or anything. So it's very, very, very safe that way. But the thing that I love about 1Password and these other password managers is they have this feature where you put the URL in. It'll also double check the correct URL because a lot of things that are happening with phishing emails now, you're getting an email and it's taking you to a site, but they could change the L to a one or an I and make it, the cyber criminals are very good at what they do. And they could actually take you to a site that, if you're not really paying attention, can look close enough and then again, you're putting your credentials in. So what I like is you can put like, I'm going to use Bank of America again, but BOFA.com. It's going to take you to that website and then it's going to open, so it's going to open it in your browser and fill it. You don't have to go to your browser. You start in 1Password desktop app, you type in, bank, and then you hit open and fill. It'll go to the login page for you. It'll put your email and your password in and log you in. And it does it very quickly and smoothly, faster than most people can type it. So you're actually saving money, and that's the productivity hack I love about this tool.
Yay. I
Yeah.
love hacks like that. Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
And the other thing too about saving them in the browsers that doesn't work is um, so many people are actually spending the majority of their time on apps on their phone or a tablet rather than on their desktop. So trying to do a traditional save it in Chrome, that doesn't help you when you're going into apps. And it's actually much more cumbersome to get to your emails to copy them or to get to your password and copy it than it is in a password manager. So that's why we're big fans of them here. Having used it, what do you see as the pros and any cons? You talked about, your experience with X, and things like that, which is a little different. But what do you like about 1Password since you switched over to it?
Well, for a number of my apps, it works very quickly now that I've set them up.
Right.
For some, it doesn't.
Okay.
And I have to go try to reconfigure my username and password so that it will then save that to 1Password. And then sometimes when I try to use the app again, it has like three different usernames. And
Oh, I see.
so
Yeah.
I'm still trying to learn, okay, should I delete two of these so the real one is still there so I can use it? So I'm still trying to learn that to make it under cruise control.
Right, right. One piece of advice I have for you that so for those of you listening who are not familiar with it, there's also an extension that you can add to a Chrome browser. So when you're filling something, if it's not recognizing you already have an email or you already have a login for an account, there's something about it. The URL is different. Like maybe you have bofa.com, and then there's something that has a slash login or something. There's some nuances to things. One great tip about it, though, because you never want to, I know that you're talking about, you have that fear that, oh, wait, if I delete this, am I deleting the good one and being left with the two older ones when you've updated your password? There's an archive function. So if you right click on it, you can archive it rather than delete it. And then that way it's out of your inbox from it's out of your active passwords and it's being stored, but it is stored. So in case you accidentally were going to delete the wrong one, you can pull it out of archive and then archive the bad one. So you can sort that out. The fastest way to find out which is the right one is to, like, let's say you have three, is you go in and you do that open and fill. And if it's not logging you in or it says it's a bad password, then archive that one right there and then problem solved.
Cool. Good to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yay.
And so do you, one of the things you talk about, David, you're famous for saying, your mind is a great place for having ideas, not holding them. And the same is true with passwords. Most people are trying to remember their passwords, or they'll come up with a formula. And I'm not laughing at people. I'm laughing at the with the situation we're all in. I mean, literally, I mean, nobody can remember 300 passwords if they're all unique and strong and randomized. And so a lot of people will come up with a formula that I'm going to use, and I did it myself before I learned how to do passwords well. But you come up with something and then you change the last two, like you add the initials of the site you're on, you know. So you're using the same password and then you're appending it with bank, AAA, PTA, whatever. And there's things like that, but those can be hacked because a computer, you don't even need, again, a human being hacker. The computer will determine, oh, that's this, it sees a pattern. It sees a potential pattern and it'll try it out because it can do tens of thousands, of these attempts, in minutes. So using things like that, there was a time when that may have worked, but those days are gone. Kind of like the days when you could live out in the country and not have any locks on your doors and windows and feel safe. So you want to make sure that you're using something that's generating unique passwords, even if you don't sign up for a password manager. So I think one thing, we've got with these password managers then too is that they can generate a password for you. So even I know what it was. Here we go. So even if you do nothing else and you don't use a password manager, you can go to their website. If you go to onepassword.com or Bitwarden, there's multiple sites. In fact, just Google password generator. Actually, don't do that because I don't want you to go to a hacker's site and they'll have sponsored links at the top. Go to onepassword.com or Bitwarden and look for their password generator. And it's going to give you, and you can adjust it. There's a little dial. You can say, I want, you can get 12 characters, 20 characters. You can get 3 words or 4 words that are random words. You're going to get a much safer password there because it's so randomized and it doesn't include your child's birthday or your pet's name or your anything about you or password 123. So generate that and then use that as your password. If you do nothing else, do that. And if you are somebody who doesn't want to pay an app anything for it, Bitwarden has a free version. It's very good. You just have to make sure that you keep your credential to log in. You need to print it out. You need to store it in a safe or someplace where you're not going to lose it. And then that is how you would recover your account if you need to. One thing great about all these companies, they don't keep your master passwords. They can't get into your account. So you've really got, I mean, that's the one thing. A lot of tools, that they're, hey, the entire IT department might have access to my information in their system. Not so with these companies. You're the only one who can get in, you and whoever you give access to. And if you don't give access
Hey,
to a hacker, you're good. And they have ways that you can share passwords with your family. Like if you wanted to share password to Netflix or YouTube Music or Amazon with your wife, you put it in a shared, and then you can both log into the app and you just have one password. If one of you updates it, the other one knows what the new password is now. And so they're super productivity tools in my mind. Um, so with those things, do you see this tool? Would you categorize this as part of someone's GTD tools of the trade?
well, yeah, for sure. I mean, it never saved me a huge amount of time because I was pretty rigorous with how I kept all my passwords intact and
Right.
could access what they were quickly or whatever. But recently, it's saved me some time. I
Yeah.
just click on it, click on that's where I am, and then it automatically fills it in, and I'm online, with the app. So, yeah, no, it's great. I highly recommend that people use that. I was recommended that people my smart people said, David, you need to use one app or one password because when Apple changed its operating system, it screwed up your old one in terms of
Right.
what you were using. So, okay. So that's what I've been involved in.
That's so great.
I don't spend a lot of time with it, but
Mhm.
uh,
That's
I'm
a good
doing
thing. That's a
the
good thing. You
best I
shouldn't spend
can.
you shouldn't spend too much time with your tools, right? You want them to work for you, not work for them.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding.
For the GTD followers who are tuning in and feeling some overwhelm in their safety, their digital safety life, what's one small change you could recommend they make today, particularly around maybe their mindset or perspective, so that they could.
I'd have to go to you, Jocelyn, and say, what would you recommend to them? I, 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 that's what I did because my friends who knew more about this than I did said one password's the best. Go ahead and transition into that and use that stuff. So, but you know, how geeky people are depends on how much research they want to do. Okay, which one's the best one now? Whatever. And
Right.
they could go to Chat GPT and say, okay, what's the best password manager now that on the market? And they're going to get probably a lot of information that you have already. But
Perfect. Well, yes.
they they could connect with you guys with what you do and say, what do you recommend and how would we start?
Well, that's often. Thank you for that. And you know what I'll do? Because I am a GTDer. I love the GTD community. And, you know, out of my enormous gratitude to you and how you've helped me live a better life and a much more productive life and be able to do the things I'm doing today, I'm going to make a special thing available to the GTDers. And we're going to post a link under this video on our YouTube channel that you can get into this whole password management training overview of knowing how to decide which one to get and how to set it up. And that's normally behind our paid gated community. But I want to make it available to all GTDers. So just take a look at the link
Yay.
under this video and we'll get that to you. My team's going, what are you doing, Jocelyn? But that's great. I'm going to make it available so you can come in and you can see what's the difference between them. And then I'm going to walk you step by step through how you set it up, some of the features we've talked about today, and even some others we haven't talked about today, so that all GTDers can have that same mind like water, relaxed control over their online safety.
Well, thank you, Jocelyn. That's lovely.
That's so
Appreciate
cool.
it.
And David, our listeners, all one thing they all have in common, they want to be safer and they want to be smarter, and I'm sure are more productive and less overwhelmed. So how can people best follow you and your work?
Just go to, um, you know, gettingthingsdone.com and
Okay.
see, we have a free newsletter that has my essays regularly that come out.
Yeah,
If you go to David Allen YouTube, you'll see you'll see tons of little snippets that I do visually that sort of remind people about the methodology.
great. And you
Um,
mentioned X, so on social media, you mentioned Instagram too. So X, Instagram, LinkedIn, David Allen.
yeah,
Great. And we'll put links to that below. In we're on over a dozen podcast platforms. So and we have our YouTube channel and our website, but wherever you can, we're going to put a link underneath so that people can follow you and get to you because you have such wonderful life-changing advice that especially in these times when everybody feels such chaos and overwhelm about some area, if not many areas of their life. You're that calming voice that's not just soothing to listen to, but you're actually giving great practical, tactical tips for how people can regain control. So,
yeah, and what's changed, Justin, over the last decade is the speed and volume of inputs that people get that they need to decide about and make decisions about.
right, that's so
And recently, particularly what I call channel creep. You're getting Slack, you're getting Teams, you're getting Google Meet, you're getting all kinds of things
true.
that you're not sure which one you need to pay attention to, and if so, what do you need to do with that, and do you just park it into a stack? Huh,
Yeah.
let me park it over there. Huh. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what exactly it is, and I might need to do something about it. And that's what you need to then practice. That's how you use the GTD practices to try to
Right.
get that clear and
Right.
not let that stuff mount up.
I want to touch on something for a second because one of the things that you help everybody with so much is having an inbox. And granted, there's a digital inbox and there's a physical inbox. But when I first started, it was great. I had two. I had my inbox for email, and I even on my email was able to redirect all my emails. So while I had five emails potentially, they were all in one box. It made it so simple to go to one place online and see that, and one hard copy place of things I needed to sort. Now, what you're talking about, like I've got WhatsApp and Slack and all of this. And one thing I did, and this hopefully is a tip to help everybody, especially GTDers who think of the inbox. I nested all of those inside one little app. So I have a little grouping called Inbox, and it has two different emails, has WhatsApp, has my SMS, has all my text. So I created an inbox cluster so I can go to that when I'm wanting to process, and then I can see, oh, I've got it. Because otherwise, I'd miss something on Messenger, miss something on WhatsApp, miss something on Slack. But I put
Well,
them all
good for
together.
you.
So when I'm in the mindset of inbox and processing, I round them all up in one place. And so I still have,
What's that app that you use,
it's
Jocelyn?
not even an app, it's a way that you cluster. So, like, I have an iPhone, and whether you have an iPhone or an Android, instead of just having all these individual apps, I mean, at the very least, you could just put them all together. So you've got seven, they're all in line with each other. It's how you organize your home screen. But I have, on my home screen, I have one of these boxes, has I call it inbox, and it has every app in there that is something that is in my digital inbox, which is different from my browser, different from my, banking and financial institution logins. And doing that, that's how I did GTD inbox on my phone.
Yeah, good for you.
Oh, that's
Good
great.
advice.
All right. So, everybody, if this has helped you rethink how you manage your digital life and approach your online safety in a more productivity focused way, please like and share it so we can reach others who also need it and need David's great advice. I also invite you can take our free 2-minute online safety quiz at smarteronlinesafety.com to see how safe you really are. And then I give you some free tips to help you get safer right away. And do not forget to check out David's work at gettingthingsdone.com or grab one of his life improving books if you haven't already become a GTDer. David, thank you so much. Thank you for all you've done, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Jocelyn, for the invitation. It was fun. Good
Uh,
work.